Hey everyone, I am so glad that you're joining me. If you're joining me, if not, I hope you get to join me later on because I've got a fun little topic and we're not going to belabor this. This is going to be a pretty short video unless there's several questions, but if you can't join me live and you want to ask questions later, I will come back and check them. So first of all, so glad that you're here. Hey Christy, good to see you. And I want to jump right into the topic, which is why you want to ditch the whole low fat thing. So low fat was just a really popular way of eating, dieting, certainly back in the 90s, and it started before then, but that's where so many, at least in my generation, that still follow low fat, that's where they get it from. And research has really come so far with why you really don't go into stores and look for low fat on your products anymore. So first of all, let me just mention that if you are getting packaged food, if you're getting something processed, it's always a good idea to look for 5 ingredients or fewer. That's just a little extra bonus tip, okay? Most of the things that say low fat will have more than those 5 ingredients or fewer, so that's just FYI. But that goes across anything, whether it says low fat or not. For the most part, unless it's just lots of herbs and spices, 5 ingredients or fewer. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into low fat. So the first reason that you, hey Brandy, hey Robin, glad you're watching too. First reason you want to ditch low fat is that fat is what actually adds to satiety, which is the feeling of fullness. So when you take a product and you remove fat from it, then what happens is you're hungry really soon after that meal. So just think about yogurt, for instance, okay? If you've ever had a low-fat yogurt, does it tie you over? I know so many people that'll come to me and I'll say, what do you have for breakfast? It'll be low-fat yogurt or no-fat yogurt. Well, how long does that fill you up for? An hour maybe? So our food, guys, should take us 4 to 6 hours. We shouldn't have to eat every hour to 2 hours. If you're having to eat that often, there's probably more than just fat not quite right in your diet, but that's probably a big part of it. You just don't have enough fat in there. So if on the other hand, you had some full-fat yogurt or one of my favorites, Greek yogurt. By the way, I can't do Greek yogurt straight. I do a few drops of stevia in there, but then it'll just hold you over for so much longer. That's more of a snack than a meal, but still, you don't want to be eating or hungry every hour to 2 hours. That's a sign that something's not right. Okay, so that's first of all, is that when you remove the fat, then you're just not going to be full as long. Second reason you want to ditch the low-fat lifestyle is that when you take fat out, they always add something back in to replace it because that fat is actually very yummy. It's delicious. It's what helps to give the food some flavor. So if they remove fat, you're left with just a yucky taste in your mouth. So they have to add things to it. And what are those things typically? It's sugar or artificial sweeteners that they'll sometimes put in there. Artificial sweeteners would be anything like sucralose or Splenda is the other name for that, or the commercial name for that, aspartame, equal, any of those kinds of things. They'll often add those. They add chemicals, yes they do. Thank you, Gina, which is where I was going next, or other kinds of additives. Different kinds of chemicals or MSG or different kinds of things that just make the food taste better. So then you have all the other problems that come with that. Whereas if you had just had the full fat to begin with, you'd be satisfied for longer and you would be getting the whole food instead of just bits and pieces that they've then added junk to. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, so if you know of anybody who has been on a low-fat diet for a long period of time, just kind of think about their skin, okay? So we're all women and we all care, most of us I would say, care about our skin and what it looks like. Aging will happen more rapidly with a really low-fat or a very restricted fat diet. So if you are going and getting things off of the shelf that say low fat or no fat, and that is making up a bulk of your meals, then you are probably doing some cellular damage as well. So our cells need fat. Our brain needs fat. Our organs need fat to be able to function. We really need it in every aspect of our body. All of our functions, most of our functions really need that fat to be able to work appropriately. So when you start to remove that, functions start to decline. And one of those things is your skin. I mean, that's just a very visible thing. It's hard to see inside of us, right? Yes, love this live. Go full fat. Go full fat. Thank you, Gina. Yeah, so we want our skin to be full and plump, and as we age, already in our face, for women's face, our skin begins to thin. So if you know of a woman 45 or older, I'll even say 30, 35 or older, who's going very low fat, you may notice that they just look older than their age. Obviously, other things can play into that. Stress, hormones, smoking, genetics. I'm not saying anybody who looks older than their age is eating extremely low fat, but the point is, it can actually age you. And the fat that's in our food, the right kinds of fat, which I'm going to get to very briefly here in just a moment, can actually fill out your skin and give it a plumpness that you just don't get on those low fat diets, okay? So a quick recap of those three things. We have, it's not satisfying, so you remove the fat, you remove what keeps you satisfied from meal to meal. Number two, you take fat out, you're gonna add in some kind of junk. The companies are gonna add in something to that to make it feel, to not only make it satisfying, but to make it taste good. And three, it can actually make you age faster when you're going extremely low fat. So what kinds of fat? If you've been following my meal plans, then you know the kinds of fat that I highly recommend. But if you're new to the page, we have so many people new to the page, then you may not know what exactly is a good fat. What's exactly a healthy fat? So I'll just give you a few. This is not all inclusive, but some of the top things, some of my very favorites are olives. So Kalamata, I think I'm saying that right, olives. I don't think I've ever said it out loud. I've always just read it or written it. Those are some of my favorites. I love olives. Olive oil, really good quality olive oil. Olive oil doesn't usually make it on my meal plans, and it doesn't mean that it's that you can't have it, but what is often on the shelf is oxidized olive oil that is just rancid and yuck, and it's not, you're not getting the amazing benefits. Crystal Pierce wants to be in your video. Crystal, did you know that you want to be in my video, or is that a weird button you just pushed? That's a new feature. I've never seen that. You're welcome to be in my video. I don't know how to do that. How fun. That would be fun. Anyway, so where was I? Olives, olive oil. Okay, so olive oil, we just want to make sure that it's the really good kind. And unfortunately, the really good kinds are going to be on the price or your side if you're wanting all the benefits of olive oil. But so I recommend avocado oil a lot because it has a very high heat point, meaning it's going to be weird. Okay, I won't bring you on then. That would be weird, wouldn't it? It has a very high heat point, so it's hard for it to necessarily go rancid. So that's why I'm a big fan of avocado oil. Avocados. Eggs are there's some good fat in eggs. Full fat dairy. Now I have to caveat with dairy. In our meal plans, we don't do hardly any dairy. The only dairy that we put in there is feta cheese, because so many people can stomach and handle feta so much better than a lot of other cheeses. Or we'll talk about a hard aged cheese like a Parmesan or an Asiago if you can handle that, or Greek yogurt. So there's some people that just can't handle even the tiniest amount of lactose, but those specific kinds don't have a lot of lactose in it. So me, I don't do well with the lactose. My body doesn't like it at all. I can have those kind of things in moderation. So that's another example of some good healthy fats that if your body can tolerate it, go for it. That's great. So again, just a few examples, not all inclusive. Wild caught salmon. Sorry, there's another one that's so great. When you do have beef, making sure that it's grass-fed, because then you're getting, let me explain this real quick too. I wasn't going to go into this, but this is important. The animal actually stores all of its toxins in its fat. So the more toxic the animal, and then the more fatty the animal, and you consume that, you're actually taking on those toxins. So it's why it's so important, no matter what meat you get, that it's very clean, which I go into that further on meal plans. I won't belabor that here, but it's just important to understand because grass-fed beef is a great amount of fat, but you just want to be sure that you're probably not eating it 3 times a day. I don't recommend it all the time, and that it is a really, really good quality. It's from good sourcing. Happy to answer any of those questions at the end if you have any questions about that. And just one more thing, and then I will be done. So definitely ask questions if you have any. Think about when we talked about taking fat out, think about if you've ever had a salad with chicken on top, baked chicken, okay? So that's our go-to when we go to restaurants, right? I'm gonna get a salad when we're all like, I'm gonna eat healthy. I'm gonna get a salad, I'm gonna put grilled chicken on it, and I'm good. So you've got all these greens in there, and you've got all these vegetables, and then you've got this baked chicken, and it's delicious. How long does it hold you over? Really think about it. Do you walk away and 2 hours later, you're like, I'm starving. I should have had a steak or whatever. I should have had the hamburger. Steak would have been better. So that's because there was no fat. There's very, very little fat. Chicken is typically very lean unless you just got a really fat chicken. But for the most part, it's very lean. So if you're not adding some kind of really healthy oil to it or a healthy dressing, I'm very careful about saying that because there's very few on the shelves, but you can make your own. Or avocado or olives or those good healthy fats like we talked about, eggs, some boiled eggs in there. If you don't have that, you are going to be so hungry so soon after. And doesn't that make sense? When you know that fat is one of those things that actually satisfies and helps to get you from meal to meal, then we want to make sure we have some with each meal, or else we're going to be really hungry really soon. So that is all I have. I hope that it convinced you a bit that maybe put the low fat back on the shelves. Don't grab low fat. There is nothing good about anything on the shelves that say low fat, unless it's a cucumber and it's just a marketing tactic, right? Okay, don't get low fat. That's the moral of this story. So I hope that helps. And if you knew all this and this is old hat to you, you know what? Maybe tag a friend that needs to hear this, because I know it is just really some kind of old school thinking, and it's hard to get rid of those ties to our ideology that we've had for some of us decades. That's just the way it is. So that's gospel. It's not, guys, and it's not science. It's not what we thought it was many years ago, and I preached it at one time too, a long time ago. So anyway, hope that helps. If you guys have any questions, I'll wait just one more moment. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any that you have after, because I know some will watch this. Most people end up watching it after the live is over anyway. But I'm thrilled. Shiloh, good to see you. Shannon, good to see you. I'm so glad y'all were here, and I hope you found it helpful. So I'm going to let you go for now and keep it short and sweet. And I hope you ladies have a fabulous rest of your Wednesday, and we will talk soon. Bye, guys.